Going to have questions. That's a guarantee because everybody does. You've never touched this stuff before. Hang on to those questions until we get off this busy street corner, and then we're going to answer them further as we kind of move along.
Cool. Okay.
So the first thing we're going to be using, thermal imaging. That's one of the first pieces I always bring out. This is a FLIR camera. This is what firemen would use to actually help save people. So do we have a fireman here? Yep, perfect. So you're already fully aware. So again, I like to point that out because FLIR is a well-known name. This is not a phone app you can go home and download. So cool thing, you guys should be able to see me in there, right? Red, orange, and yellow guy. So I point that out because that means I'm the hottest thing inside the video right now. That works really great with a bridal party, just so you know, like when they're half drunk and they're like, yeah, if they fall over laughing. It works out really well. We're looking for blue and black. So we're looking for cold spots. That's really, okay, you guys getting my...
because whenever, there's one around, the temperature's always seem to drop.
Okay, so what am I looking for exactly with this guy? I'm looking for those blue and black areas to either start taking shape or to start moving on their own. So when I say moving on their own or taking shape, I want heads, shoulders, moving limbs. Like, that's what we're looking for. I'm also looking for cold spot anomalies of 15 degrees or less of our ambient temperature. So that's normally a good indicator that something might actually be happening. Notice I said might. Again, 15 degrees might be a can on the ground. So again, I have to do a lot of dissecting of these videos when I do find something to make sure like what I'm looking at, the thermodynamics actually matches up. So as great as the hardware is, the software for this sucks. We're going to do a few starts and stops with this guy. We're going to be working in. There are vehicles in here, so just kind of be mindful of people going to their cars or people sitting in their cars. These cars belong to employees down here. So just keep in mind that they might be in their car sleeping, taking a nap on their break or whatever. So welcome to a parking lot. Congratulations, you made it. I told you I'm taking you to weird spaces the other tourists don't even go to. The reason why is because this used to be something relative to the history of Charleston. This used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney mansion site. Their mansion actually sat in the front of this space. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across. And in the back of the space is where the servant and slave quarters were for the home. So, first off, for you communication device people, I am not going to be giving you questions like what color was George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. You're not going to know the answers. This is where I start withholding information so you have a genuine experience, if that makes sense. So I don't want you to know every little thing about the space. So, who the heck were these people? They had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Chucks, in case you lost track. That's why we look for secondary clues, so I know which Charles is actually coming through, if that makes sense. So, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. That's a big deal for us, but I hate politics. I'm going to move on. Are they coming through? Somebody's phone.
That's my phone that's going off, and I never get things on my phone.
Mine.
Yours too?
Yeah.
Mine
I
moved
heard
in
one
our
earlier,
purse.
too.
Yeah.
That was hers.
Yep.
There's going to be people walking by Jeanette, so just be mindful. They're right behind me. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, people get really weirded out. Like, why are you filming me? And if they're going to be coming in here, it's going to be even worse. Oh, they're good. All right, so Charles and Eliza. We're going to talk about Eliza instead because she has a much cooler story. And again, I don't want to discuss politics. Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards. I say today's standards is because if you're going to ask her how old she was, don't expect answers like 12 and 14 like the colonial times that she came from. That's when girls got married back then. Think of today's standards. The reason I bring that up is because her husband was over double her age when they married. Kind of a creepy age gap back then. Thank you for the scowl. Definitely a creepy age gap now. So, I just make sure, like, I look at your guys' facial expressions to make sure, like, hey, what am I saying is making sense. So anyway, she married him because her father was over in England, where he thought he was dying. He's trying to bring all of his children home one last time so he can see them. Well, Eliza didn't believe he was dying, so she stayed put and got married. It's 1744. You don't get married in 1744 to get a green card. We're not a country yet. So she did marry him out of love. This is a true love story. Don't poke the bear. There's no foul play with the marriage or anything like that. By the way, speaking of which, this is a very respectable English woman. We will act with respect while we're here. This is not a place where we can poke the ghost and trying to get answers. So if you're seeing that from your TV shows, this is not that space. We can do that later.
10.5.
Nice. That was she's hearing me. Okay, good deal. Thank you, Eliza. But anyway, where was I? Oh, so she stayed put and got married, right? Dad starts sending her gifts from England to apologetically, so to speak. And one of the gifts that he sent her was the indigo seeds. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes her blue jeans blue. A lot of you are wearing some kind of denim tonight. That's what we use it for today. However, when she got the seeds, she didn't know what to do with them. That's emotion, like. They just put those in like 2 weeks ago. They're driving me crazy. I was trying to like, oh, I can use that in the investigation, but people move around too much. But she had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated because it's not always hot here. Bless you.
Thank you.
So when she learned how to, keep it cultivated, learned to make the dye, she moved into a cash crop plantation just south of here and got a hold of her dad and said, rice plantations are going downhill. We're going to make a killing with the indigo. And we now have an international businesswoman during colonial times, which is something absolutely unheard of. You got to see me during Women's History Month. Like, I'm a big hit.
Yeah.
So, I don't talk just about Eliza. We're going to talk about a lot of females tonight. But at any rate, that's the boring business stuff of Eliza. Let's get into the weird shit because that's why 15. You guys are all here. 15 and a 10 point, what was the other one?
10.5 and 15.
Nice. Good on you for remembering because I got a lot of numbers in my head. So, I'm going to kind of go through and give you guys a series of questions to focus on. I want you to also remember that we have a lot of communication devices out here. So if you're asking a question and not getting a direct answer, it might be coming up over there, or on my audio, or on Mom's audio over there. So again, we never know where it's going to actually show up.
Okay.
So don't be discouraged if you don't get a direct answer right away. That's why I say don't always look for things. Just kind of like get the conversation started. That's kind of how this goes. So with your device, you're going to go straight after Eliza's death. So she's pretty open about talking about it, and these are questions we commonly get the answers to in this location.
Criminal.
How old she was?
I'm
Where
at
she died
44
from?
degrees.
You're at 44?
44, 41,
On what?
44.
Is it on the wall?
It's blue and black, and it goes down to 41 and right up in the low 50s.
I'm just wondering if it's a sign. Excuse me. Keep it hidden right there. Oh, you're in the sky.
Oh. Hello. Okay.
Oh, sorry if I
No,
bumped you.
that's fine. I wouldn't even know that.
You were in the sky. That's why we debunk things in real time.
Yeah.
So, age, cause, where she's buried, what president was a pallbearer.
That's what I'm supposed to ask.
You can ask it, you can focus
Just
on it,
think
whatever you're comfortable doing.
And then turn this on.
Yep.
Okay.
With yours, you have two different devices. I'm going to tell you right now that Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles back to back. So, yeah. Both Elizas, though, have the same initials, ELP.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. They both have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. You might get it on your Ouija board device. That's usually what I look for when I'm here. So ELP. On your other device, you might get either one of their maiden names, obviously beginning with the letter L, but I'm going to let you focus on the mansion's not here anymore.
Right.
What happened to it, and then when did that happen? So if you get the what, we normally get 2 or 3 numbers of the when, the full date, like very specific numbers. I'm not talking like 1, 2, 3, 4 here. I'm talking like specific numbers.
17.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Very specific numbers. So those are the sets of questions we're going to focus on with the minimal amount of communication devices that we have going on here. And again, with yours, standing still is optimal. If you guys want to kind of do a round robin, I'll let you kind of like do 2 round robins around the location. Obviously, Hugh's going to know where all the hot spots are. And our spike at this point was how much?
15.
15. So don't tell me anything below 15 at this point. But he's going to know where the hot spots are at the front of the space. 10.5, 15. And have you heard anything at all?
No, because I'm listening to you.
It's okay.
But mine would get me
I'm going
mad
to
at
ask
it.
all the time.
Yeah, okay.
Just so you know. Don't get annoyed by it.
So, I'm not annoyed. I'm just trying to listen to you, and then I'm going to turn. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Is that an okay way to do it?
Absolutely.
They have to know.
I want to see your word list, and I got to work with these for a few minutes anyway to show you how to work that. So I would say definitely kind of hang around. And
Okay.
see what you've got going on over there too. Dumb permit. Dumb permit. I like the word digging. That came up when we were, well, that's what I call bleed over. So when you said that over there, I was like, oh, we're already starting to get bleed over. I didn't want to bring it up yet because you don't notice you had a garden. We always get gardening terms around that. So we could get things relative to digs on over here and vice versa. We could have a pink item over there. Now I'm going to be at the beginning of her recording. Obviously, if something pops up around gardening, I'm not going to search for it, but if it happens, obviously we have a time.
Okay.
Now, this device, have you got any letters at all?
No, none.
Perfect. So we're going to turn up the sensitivity. So we'll use the last one all the way down. So this red light means it's cranked all the way up.
Okay.
If you're getting like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, it's cranked up too high.
And okay, turn the dial down.
Turn it on counterclockwise.
Okay.
So I like in this location, crank it all the way up. And speed turn, slow down. So again, once you get a full row of letters, and you can't make anything out of it, you don't need me. I mean, you know how to read, right?
Yep.
So turn this guy all the way down to 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And then back up to 9. And it'll give you a nice clean slate again.
Okay.
Otherwise, it'll overwrite the letters that were already there, and it'll give you a false positive.
Okay.
Like you might actually see your name spelled out when, you know what I mean, the Y-A-N was already there, but it didn't have, it overwrote a P to make it Ryan.
Okay.
Interesting that you had heard on there.
Why is that now?
Again, he had a spike when I started saying we're going to be respectful in this location. And it's a, we heard you.
Okay.
So.
No, that's even like going into cemeteries and stuff like that. I am so respectful for.
Depends on the location.
Well, I don't care who it is. I respect it. I mean,
As you should. But I think with me being in these locations for as long as I have, it's not like they don't know. It's not like they don't know what we're going to ask. You know. And I will be honest, this is a location I come to every night before I meet with you guys to let her know how many people I'm bringing.
Okay. Out of respect.
Because it has that location.
Really?
Just out of my ghost tunnels that I brought. Like they were being disrespectful. So they were being disrespectful.
Okay.
You know, right over in this area, I get
Elijah
50s
Wood.
and 60s.
Okay. Damn close.
So I can stand still, and it's going to keep going. I keep trying to like figure out. I don't know what that, because I'm not hearing.
Well, again, you hearing the actor's name Elijah Wood?
Yes.
Elijah sounds a lot like Elijah. The one that we did.
Yes. No, this was clear. Oh, that you're saying is that okay. Right. Sure.
So I would need something a little bit more specific.
Okay.
For maid name shows up, I'll be.
Yeah.
Pinckney's
It's
not going to
pretty
show
cool.
up, but for maiden name,
Okay.
it's a little bit. How's your device going, buddy?
Going good.
Anything else on that?
Small numbers.
The average spike for this location is between 18 and 22. And that's
It's really weird because this, even when I was standing over there, if I come over here, and I don't have sky up there, my thing's tipped down, it goes into the 40s and low 50s here. Do you see?
Yeah. Tilt it down a little lower. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of history in these streets in this area here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, when you want to see the word list, just tap that little box to the right.
Okay.
And then circle back.
Gotcha. Perfect.
How's How's it coming on the thermal? Anything crazy?
Good. No, that area over there
But
would
that
be
dumpster
in the.
could be colder.
Okay.
It's metal.
Okay, so that was the low 40s and barely in the 50s then.
Okay, let's test it out.
You jamming away to any music yet? Are you jamming
So I'm
away
gonna
to
see.
any music yet?
Are you seeing how? Go ahead and raise it up where you're pointing right at it. So you see how you have like a 50? Is it a 54 or 60?
64. Yep.
So there was a. Yeah, it's still back here. There's a grill back here, and it's going to be made out of somewhat aluminum. So let's test that just to kind of get a gist of the temperature. It's hard to read with it being on the yellow.
53. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
there it goes down.
Yeah, the
Yep.
aluminum's going to definitely be
Okay.
colder than the steel because it's thinner.
Yep.
So it's going to get colder a lot faster than a thicker steel, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yep.
Studying thermodynamics with this guy, like, I had to know what the hell I was talking about.
Yeah.
So I had to test a lot of different,
Okay.
like, how does that work? Why does this go colder? Why does the ground look the way that it does in here?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you notice there's different colors in the ground.
Yeah.
We have gravel, we have mud, we have water, and we have cement. So they're all going to be different temperatures. That's why you have that weird array of color on the ground. And water's always going to be cooler than anything else.
Okay.
And then mud is going to be the next coolest thing because mud is wet or wet dirt, right? So it's just going to have a little bit. It's going to have less water in it. So you're getting my point.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
but yeah, a lot of studying different types of surfaces, different types of environmental changes, the whole 9 yards. But you're getting the point. So you're actually when I'm watching this video, I'm actually looking usually at the wall to see if there's any blue dots moving across,
Oh.
or is there a wave of something going across?
How can you tell what's the wall?
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I just have to raise it up high enough for
Right.
people so I can see them
You got it.
against the wall. Thanks. Yep, back to the 40s again, and I've got over.
Yeah, in this space, you're gonna. That might actually also be picking up the metal building over there,
Okay.
and the colder metal sheets covering the windows over there.
Okay.
So that's probably what it was. I thought about it after I walked away. I'm like, it might be the metal building.
Okay. Thanks.
I'll keep you working.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe they're coming back this year.
Oh, maybe.
Honest.
So it won't ever stay on one spot. It just keeps rotating through.
Just making sure it's still like
Yeah. You gotta be really good at this. You do? Oh yeah, that's true. There you go.
honest as can be. It's not nothing on this one. Okay.
It's very loose.
Did you get anything on your camera?
I don't know.
Oh.
I get a lot of different temperature changes, even
Yeah.
down to the 30s when I was scanning.
Oh my
I
goodness.
was right in there now.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What's interesting about that is it's not always a real-time moment.
Oh.
It's more fun to watch that the next day.
Oh,
so,
yeah?
Again, if I don't always follow up with that camera in real time,
Mm-hmm.
it's because it's the communication in real time that probably means more than what's going on there.
Oh.
Nice.
Because again, I use 3 different styles of cameras. The thermal, obviously, because we're using it tonight, but I also have like the Stickman camera. You guys know what that is?
Is that the thing where the metal things go like this?
No.
No.
You're
You're
not
thinking
looking for
Ghostbusters.
water.
Oh yeah, I don't know what.
Oh, you're
those
thinking
are,
dowsing
those
rods.
things. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I have those too, but the Stickman camera is basically, it's a depth perception camera. So it'll pick up the skeleton of Ryan, and if there was somebody standing here next to him that we couldn't see, it would also pick up their stick,
Oh.
their skeleton.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's kind of cool.
I also use an infrared camera, which is light that we can't see, but the camera can see it, so we capture a lot of orbs that way.
That's when
Orbs.
I've had them in my house where I picked them. I've never seen them, but they were right there when I've taken pictures.
Yeah. You can't see them with your own eyes because
Right.
you need something that can, which
Right.
is why I use that camera. But everybody asks me about the thermal, and it's probably the most impressive when you guys get it back in your full data set. So that's usually why it's always been a staple. But that Stickman camera is brand new. Like I just bought that 2 months ago. So
See, Mom, you're the most important person here.
Hey. Well, we
should have been
hope
that
we
way
get
from the
it.
beginning, dude.
Oh,
Sorry.
Oh, true. There
I knocked
he
him down a
goes.
peg for you.
Thank you.
All right, Hugh, come on in. Let's kind of rein this one in because you guys aren't giving me anything else.
Do you want me to push the
Yeah,
record
kinda
off?
hit that stop button and kind of give your hands a break. Pretty bad. Like I have miniature wiener dogs, so they were like tumbling like when I went outside. I'm like, it's windy. When my dogs are getting blown over, like that's not good. So welcome to Philadelphia Alley. A couple of things about this location. Other tours, again, normally on a Sunday, Monday, I'm usually the only guy out here. But in the event, Jeanette, if a tour decides they want to come through that wall, obviously be very discreet. So they'll come either through that wall or up this way. They should not be coming through this way, but other couples may, just so you have an idea. This used to be called Dueler's Alley. By the way, have you heard anything along the way?
No.
Nothing. And what were the words that you heard along the way, or that you saw along the way? Let's go through them again.
Well, after I had understanding, gun mention, rebuild, funny, ruby, ring, sink.
Ruby and gun were in there?
Huh?
Ruby and gun?
No, not gun. Ring, sink,
Yeah, you have gun in there.
gun. Oh yeah, gun. Yep.
Interesting. Okay. We are leaving the Pinckney Mansion site, coming here, and he gets the word gun. Because this is Dueler's Alley. This is where some of the duels used to have took place. So gun is a common term on any type of device here. Again, it's very vague, but again, it definitely ties into where we are now. The word ruby is a big stretch. I'll explain it if something else pops up. But that's a very specific type of jewel, right? But it is also a very specific color.
Ruby red.
Right. So it's an interesting piece, and something else pops up, I'll let you know. But anyway, we all tell the story of one specific duel because we can actually prove that it occurred, but I tell it a lot differently than the other ghost tours. I told you, every ghost tour comes through here. We all love this alley. It's one of the most picturesque places we have in all of Charleston. It's gorgeous down here. This is probably one of my favorite places in all of downtown, to be quite honest with you. Like, it's the most peaceful, it's the most picturesque, it's gorgeous. But anyway.
Does it pick up words that you're saying at all?
No.
Or is it just alley just came up?
Gun Alley, everybody.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to my world. I want you specifically on your other device to be looking for the letters R-I in that order.
R-I?
Yes.
Okay.
It'll make sense here in just a moment. Let's get into the story because we have things going on. I want to make sure we're catching it. So, there's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. There's her first R.I. It's going to make a whole lot more sense of why I focus on that as I kind of move through this. He moves down here. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd, by the way. If in the event that the song Brown Eyed Girl, I know you have it on mute right now, but if I catch it in the recording during this time frame, it is not coincidence. We get it all the time. It's part of the doctor's name, Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. So, he moves here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. So she has an attorney helping her out with all of this cash flow. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money. He tells the doctor, or he tells Amanda, get rid of the doctor. So he comes to Charleston to prove that he's not after her money. As he's coming into town, there's a coachman that he was riding that actually set him up to be robbed and killed. So it wasn't a good start to his stay here. But somebody was walking by, and he saw it was about to go down. His name was Ralph Isaacs. He has the same initials as where the doctor came from. So, two different characters, Rhode Island and Ralph Isaacs, so we need a secondary clue so we know who it belongs to. This is the reason why I have that Ouija board, by the way. We were getting the letters R-I all the time on your spirit box and others. I wanted to make sure it was those specific letters, and we've had it almost on cue about 5 times in the past 6 months. So, again, can't make this stuff up.
It's just going, now it's actually, because it said, after that it said yield, and now it's behind. It's just weird. Kind of creepy. Yield behind.
I want you to also keep in mind that duels started back to back. So, let's get back to the doctor. Ralph tells the doctor, dude, you don't want to stay here. I know this guy. He's going to try to kill you. I got some friends at 59 Church Street. Come with me. You can rent a room from them. You'll be safe. 59 shows up here a lot, by the way. Doctor took him up on the offer, and they became friends. The longer the doctor stays here, the more money he's making. He's proving his point that he wasn't after Amanda's money. So Amanda gets wind of this, and she's going to move down, and they're going to get married, and they're just going to live happily ever after. But the doctor became known as the whistling doctor because he whistled all the time. This is the 1780s, so that's when men whistled when they were happy. So I want you to also keep in mind, every haunted city you're ever going to visit in the future has a cliched whistling ghost. We all have one. So ours, there's actual proof of this one, which I'm going to get to. Ralph and the doctor go see plays together. They can't sit next to each other. Why? The doctor makes more money than Ralph. He gets better seats. That's just kind of the way the hierarchy works here in Charleston. And they talk about these plays on the way home. They go see Richard III one night from Shakespeare, and they're arguing over the new actress. The doctor thought that the new actress was great. Ralph didn't. The argument turns into Ralph insulting the doctor's fiancée, Amanda, back home in Rhode Island. It gets very ugly, and they go their separate ways. Ralph is from here, at least mostly local. He's been here a long time, so he has friends at the newspaper. He goes there and he puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a, you're a disgrace to society kind of mentality. The doctor saw the ad and rebutted with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. Settle this shit and somebody's gonna die. So they came down, they took their 10 paces, they turned, the doctor pointed his gun in the air, and he shot. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight, which is often what happened at a duel. But Ralph has his one bullet. He puts it in the kneecap on the doctor, so the doctor didn't die. He dropped to the ground. His friends picked him up, carried him home to 59 Church Street, and he dies 10 days later, on November 2nd of 1786. So, it's funny, it's just the other night, on one of the spirit boxes, somebody heard the numbers 11 and 2, and I didn't even mention his death date yet, November 2nd. So, again, it was one phrase, 11 and 2. So it must have been a score to a game, I'm sure, but it was not ironic. You guys seeing something down there? You guys' heads keep turning down.
Well, I keep seeing like something like twice now by Ryan, so I just wanted to see if there was a person. I thought there was a person coming up here. I was going to put my camera down.
I will tell you that every ghost tour that comes down here will tell you to stop and listen for the whistles. Besides the air conditioning and the airplane, it's always super quiet down here. Even on a busy Saturday afternoon, it's always quiet. I don't know how or why, but it's very eerie. But we're using my voice recorder right now in the camera. You don't have to listen for the whistles. The other cool thing is with the communication devices, we have gotten the word whistle that's come through, and the whistling parts of songs coming through, like Guns N' Roses' Patience, or the Maroon 5 Moves Like Jagger. There are whistling parts of that song that show up here all the time. So if you're going to try this out and walk through this alley all on your own, because I can't take you all the way down to the end, I've been kicked out of here. I'll tell you why in a minute. But turn on your voice recorders, listen to it later. It's not going to be obvious. It's going to be faint in the background. Again, it's not always black and white. Sorry, you. But listening to it in the background, I want you to also keep in mind that every local knows this story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street throws a whistle down the alley.
Yeah.
I do it every night. So we pass my garage on the way here. I always pass this alley on my way back to my car. I always throw a whistle since I got kicked out of here. Let's talk about that. Go ahead. Did you have a question? Oh, you just had this like, oh.
No, it's just awesome. I just like listening.
I talk a lot, so it's a good thing. Yeah. So this alley didn't always go all the way through that way, the way we came in. There was a wall there. Why? Because this is where they kept the livestock for the city of Charleston. It was called Cow Alley back in those days, and that was before Dueler's Alley. So That means that the bricks on the other side are older than the ones we're standing on. Those are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint from a slave child down there, along with fingerprint swipes and other bricks off to the side. I would always go through this alley, and I would show off the handprint, because I'm sure you figured out I'm all about history. So, every night my groups would stop and want to try to get something out of that brick. I treat that brick the same way I do a grave. That kid's not there. So November 26th of 2020, yes, a very specific date, we're going to get into that. This is how quiet it always is, just so you know. My entire group is huddled around that brick. I'm trying to shoo them along. I'm also trying to be respectful because it's outside the kitchen window of the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. I didn't realize I was out of bounds for tours. I was still new at this. The new owner came out screaming. My daughter thought it was great. She was on the tour that night, and Dad's getting yelled at. So we moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. Before I started using all my degrees to do this, I was actually in retail management for Walmart for over 20 years. So you can understand I will never work another Thanksgiving in my entire life. So I didn't work that day. The next day I called my partner that I had at the time, and that's how I got started into this. I actually had a partner, and I told him what happened. He said, dude, you can't go down that far. You can only go down halfway or reroute your group. So the next day it's Black Friday. I got to come up with something because the rest of my tour goes that way. So I told my team, I don't believe in this next story. I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate person. I've never had anything happen up there. We'll see what happens. I'll tell you what little bit I do know about pirates, but we'll kind of wing it. And they were cool with that. Tickets were much cheaper back then. I can't wing it anymore. I need to know what the hell I'm talking about. But anyway, so before we left, somebody heard the name Anne on a spirit box. So I went, well, hot damn, I didn't tell you who we were going to be investigating. The famous female pirate Anne Bonny. So I went, okay. We get up there. I told them what little bit I did know about pirates. Somebody else heard the number 300. I don't know what it means. I write it down. I researched the next day. We were there November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy, November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300th anniversary of her pirate trial. So, ever since then, I've been reading more books on pirates than I ever wanted to in my entire life, trying to piece together a factual investigation based on pirate lore. That's my problem with not believing in pirates and the whole tidbit with that. I have a master's degree in creative writing. I need facts. Like, pirate lore is not facts. So everything we're going to be discussing at the next location came from a minimum of 2 resources. So, worst case scenario, by the way, it is a hit or miss location. What we're looking for up there is bleed over from this space. Again, we're not going to spread out here like what we did at the Pinckney site because there's obviously not enough room for us to be able to do that. But we're going to be looking for bleed over from here, right across the street, about the pirate story. But the hit or miss is because Anne Bonny is said to be seen all over town. And there are other buildings around town. I'll explain why we're there. But with this particular space, I always bring you at least a third of the way into it, so you gotta get the gist of the dueling, the cow alley, the whole nines. I used to tell this whole thing like over by that white building, and then I was like, that doesn't really work out really well. You need to be in it to hear the silence, if that makes sense. Not to mention, I need to stop like stalling at this location for so long because the rats are starting to come out. We're in their home, and that's probably what
The
you're
rats?
Yep.
Like real rats?
Yeah.
Sorry. I just want to know.
Yeah. They'll be on your camera. No worries.
Okay.
And when we
They
use
won't come on our feet or anything.
No, they don't come that close.
I'm thinking, oh my God.
You didn't bring any cheese with you?
Yeah, I know. No.
Should have.
So, before we leave the space, I always like to point out this gate and why it's here. You're starting to see how all my research starts to come together, I hope. But remember that the alley didn't go all the way through this way. In the event that there was a loser to one of the duels going on, this was a shortcut to get to the cemetery on the other side of the wall. Otherwise, they'd have to go all the way down to Queen Street and wrap around to get to the cemetery.
That's kind of creepy.
Okay. Welcome to my world. It's full of creepy.
So there's some people coming now, Mom.
Yep. All right, it's okay. We're going to stop your video and go learn about pirates anyway.
We went from awkward to Greek, and then we got into the alley, and it went to Mason. And then as soon as we were leaving, it said drive, and when she started talking, it turned to save.
I like Mason. Only because we do have Freemason history.
I was thinking that, but I didn't know if it was a name or if it had to do with the Freemasons or...
So, one of the spaces that I took out for this route actually dealt a lot with the Freemasons. It was Lodge Alley. So if you guys are... I know how long they're going to be in town. How long are you guys going to be here?
we leave tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning. But Lodge Alley was one of the spaces I used to take. It was part of the route. It's cobblestone. It's actually... oh my God, why can't I think of it? It's been a while since I've been down there. It's not actual cobblestone. It just looks like cobblestone because it's so worn down. It's been there for a couple hundred years. But it's called Lodge Alley.
Sodium.
That's interesting.
Maybe that's what it's made out of, is sodium. You're struggling with that. Sodium of some sort.
That is interesting. I got to dive into that because the whole reason why I take people down that alley is because of the stones. They're made out of granite. So when it has a specific name to it, but granite does not have an EMF property. Like there's no electrical field to it whatsoever. But on the weeks that it is active, because it works off the stone tape theory. So the stone tape theory basically states that rock or not human, but earthly materials that have been in the same space for a long period of time can hang on to the memories of the things that occurred there. So like that's the whole purpose of the stone tape theory. Well, those bricks have been there for 300 years. So again, with those bricks being there, we would only get readings from those bricks every 5 to 6 weeks. And when I say readings, I'm talking 12, 13, 14, 18 milligauss coming out of it, and it's not coming from the buildings on either side of us. So again, some nights we can read the same brick for 6 weeks straight, not get anything, and all of a sudden we get a 15 to an 18. So
feeling runner scared.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of bullshit on there. Now Eliza, let me explain that one.
That was weird. Yeah.
But it wasn't. This is why you came to see
And
me.
that's right when his earbud popped out. I go, did you hear that? He goes, it just...
Did you
I didn't hear it, no.
Okay. So Eliza's husband is buried across the street. From time to time, that's why I was asking him what he had, because what'll happen, and this is what I commonly see, he'll introduce himself by saying the word Charles on a spirit box somewhere. And then he starts telling us about his wife, Eliza. So we'll get clues about Eliza the second wife, not the first one, even though the first one's buried over there somewhere. I don't know if she's near him or not, because I've never set foot inside there. Wow, there's a carriage tour running this late? Holy mackerel. I never see carriage tours like this, especially on a Sunday. Anyway, but that's why I was waiting for a Charles to show up, or something along, something to introduce the husband Charles, not the nephew or the son. Because again, it's the nephew, the husband, and the first wife Eliza are all buried across the street.
How about a Dave?
Pardon my French, but fuck Dave. He is pissing me off. I don't know who he is. He keeps showing up here, and I don't know who he is.
Fuck
Again,
Dave.
I'm telling you,
Sorry, Dave.
The 7 nights a week that I'm out here, it's 5 out of 7 nights somebody hears the name David, or the name David shows up on one of the... I've been researching this guy for weeks, and I can't find Dave. Sorry. Kind of an outburst.
Dave, you're a
That's
Waldo.
awesome.
That's me excited, everybody. That's as far as it'll go.
That's really cool.
Fuck Dave.
Again.
He says.
Sorry.
Oh, God.
No,
Tough
Nick.
crowd.
No, not fuck Dave. I'm here.
Guess who's coming back with us? It's probably Dave. He'll be thankful. He'll probably give us a Christmas card. Thanks for taking Dave off my plate.
Join the group at your house. We're your fun group.
It's great when I get to like belly laugh a little bit. I actually had I'm going to bring this up just because we're on belly laughs real quick. I'm sorry, Hugh, for delaying your research over there.
No. Oh, yeah, how is your meter doing?
In this location, just so you know, it is minimal at best. Now, I had a guy one night, how do I put this? He's a very big character, like very outspoken, we'll say that.
Obnoxious?
I originally asked him how many drinks he had. Because if somebody comes up drunk, I go home. The equipment's too expensive. I don't play around with that. Like I'm bold about it, as I'm sure you guys already noticed. Like, hey, is your kid alive? But yeah, he was. I apologized to him later. He got it. But we were actually over in Philadelphia Alley. It's a very busy Friday or Saturday night, and there was a group pouring out of the wall, just like I was telling you to watch out for. And our groups can go to 20. Like this group is pouring out, and there was a straggler at the end. And this lady, she comes out. She's probably late 50s, early 60s. And she stops and like stands behind like part of my group. And I looked at her and I was like, can I help you? And she's like, oh, this isn't my group. And the outspoken gentleman says, no, your fake group is right up there. Because he was having such a blast with all of he thought it was okay for him to blast the other tour groups instead of just me.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Like, I never laughed so hard in my life. Like, I can't tell you how. I was literally crying. Like, I had to pull myself together to get through the dueling story. But anyway, welcome to another parking lot. I know, but close proximity. We're here for this little
Beautiful hedges.
Well, there's a cemetery on the other side of this.
Oh, cool.
So in the month of March, we will actually hear from John Calhoun, who's buried on the other side of this wall, because he was born in March and he died in March. So again, I don't normally bring him up, but he pointed out the beautiful ivy wall. We're actually here because of that little building over there, the one with the crosses on it. Those are not crosses, by the way. Those are earthquake bolts. If you're not from here, you don't know what that is. Well, you guys went on a carriage ride. They all talk about those. So earthquake bolts are turnbuckles. So if we have another earthquake, like what we did in 1886, you tighten the turnbuckles. It tightens the building to stop it from incurring any further damage.
Wow.
It's a great idea. It just doesn't work. Don't be too impressed over there. So the reason I bring these up is because it's part of the reason why we're here. Those earthquake bolts are actually the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston ever put in.
Okay.
The reason why is because that's the oldest government building in South Carolina. This building was being constructed at the same time that Anne Bonny was coming here to start her new life. We don't have many buildings this old. This is what I call a familiar. For those of you that watch TV shows and movies, you recognize where they use a teddy bear to attract a child ghost. So it actually has all kinds of EMF meters in it and will light up and you can see them. They use that because it's something familiar to the child. It's a toy. Same principle. She would recognize this building because we don't have many this old. The hope is that she's going to be here in the same 15 to 20 minutes that we're going to be here. So let's get into her history. First off, this building took 10 years to build. That tiny little building in the front. And does that sound like our government? Small building, 10 years? No, not at all. I'll answer for you. The history begins right in the middle of its construction, 1708. Try to follow me. There's a lot of twists. We're talking about a badass female pirate here. So, 1708, a young lady comes here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormac. She comes here with her father, his mistress. The mistress is Anne's mother. Are you with me so far? The three of them are running away from her father's angry wife. How mad was she that she booted him out of the damn country? So, they land in Georgetown. That's between us and Myrtle Beach. So, Dad bought a plantation. Mom died pretty quickly. That means Dad is sending young Anne down here to be able to sell anything from the plantation to keep things afloat, hence the familiar building. Again, she's said to be seen all over town. Let's take a step backwards to Ireland for just a minute. They say she was a badass even back then. They say at the age of 7, 8, 9 years old, she killed a servant with a knife to the belly. We have had the terms servant, knife, and belly come out of 3 different spirit boxes all in the same evening. Just so you know. People were poking the bear about that one. She proved it to be true. Fast forward, the building's done in 13. Pirates are coming through Charlestown in 1715. Anne's stoked. Why? She's going to fall in love so she can earn her freedom with a man. Again, it's 1700s. It's a man's world at this point. So, first guy she falls in love with. I said first because there's a handful, and we're going to go through them all. First guy is James Bonny. You already see where this one's going. He's a filthy pirate. Dad didn't approve. They ran away to Jamaica. They got married. Anne Cormac is now Anne Bonny. That's where her name came from. However, she gets down there, and she realizes that James Bonny, her new husband, is not Captain Jack Sparrow, like what she was hoping for. This guy turns out to be a privateer. He's a spy for the British. He's a coward in her eyes. This is not who she wants. A few years go by, she falls in love again. This is John Rackham. They call him Calico Jack. This is the guy they based your Johnny Depp character off of, just so you know who we're talking about. Okay. So, he has his own ship, he has his own crew, and wants to be part of that crew.
Why is the rum always gone?
My daughter, if we're here, she would be high-fiving you right now, because she says that at home all the time, because that's what I drink at home. So, I smoke a tobacco pipe, and rum and Sprite go really well with that. So, anyway, mix of ginger ale, in case you were wondering. Tastes just like ginger ale. Anyway, back to why is all the rum gone. Anne wants to be part of Jack's crew and ship. You can't put a girl on a pirate ship because females are bad luck on a pirate ship. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and look like the crew, you could be part of it. But you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy apprentice back home in Ireland to hide her from his wife. So she gets it. It's a man's world.
You know, just to let you know, are you just looking because you're not recording anything?
It's
right
square. Isn't square?
Round
Square is recording.
Square is?
Yes.
Oh,
thank you.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm sorry,
She
Mom.
knows what
I'm
she's
the
doing,
idiot,
man.
Here. Gosh, you got this. You got this shit, Mom.
Put 2 and 2 together. She's a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a girl. So he drops her off in Cuba before she starts to show her pregnancy. Says, has the baby over here. Come back later. We'll figure it out. She goes and has the baby, but returns without a child. None of my research has ever found out why she returned with no child. I don't know what happened to her. But while she was gone giving birth, he captured another pirate crew, and they're down below deck. She's going to go flirting to make him even more mad. So keep in mind, what makes him mad to begin with is she's dressed like a female. Now his crew is going to vote him off the ship because he let a girl on the crew. So back to the crew that's under the deck. She's flirting, and the guy she's flirting with, we're on guy number 3, in case you lost track, turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew the Calico Jack captured. So now we have 2 females dressed like males on the same ship. Her name is Mary Reed. She went by Mark Reed to become a pirate. Her and Mary became friends, possibly lovers, we're not going to really know for sure, but the British found out where they are. They sent in a fleet of ships to come take them out. Rumor is that Anne and Mary were the only 2 pirates that were not drunk enough to come up and fight with 1-bullet flintlocks because they didn't know how to use the cannons yet. Obviously, 2 ladies with 1-bullet flintlocks are not going to get very far. They got arrested. As they're all being arrested, she looks at Jack, her captain and beau, and basically states, Jack, I'm sorry to see you here, but if you would have fought like a man, you wouldn't be hanged like a dog. The word dog shows up even before we enter the space, a lot. Just so you know, that's a big deal. But anyway, the judge wants to see the 2 quote-unquote men that fought back so valiantly on their own. He's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunken pirates that wouldn't fight. Anne and Mary go in front. They reveal their gender. He doesn't give a shit that they're female. He's still going to hang them. They're still pirates. We plead our bellies, was the last thing they shouted at him, because you cannot hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he sends them both back to jail and delays the hanging.
Until after.
And yes, but Dad is still up here in South Carolina. He has all of his Irish money because he was an attorney back home. He bails out Anne, brings her home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4, because we're going to count Mary. We don't really know. And she has 4 kids, dies at the age of 84. Very abrupt ending. Why? We don't know much about her after her prior career, and even then it's speculative. Some say she stayed here, others say she went up to Virginia. So we just never know. As far as Mary Reed goes, she died 4 months later in a Jamaican jail from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. Use your imagination. Most books will tell you that it was something simple like fever. I'm going to say, let's make it romantic and call it scurvy. Why the hell not? Make it nice and bumpy and gross for you. A couple of things I left out of here, since you guys already know how to ask questions. This is not going to be like, hey, you have all of these questions. Cherry pick off of this batch. I left out the names of Anne's parents. That's the father and the mistress. So you can ask those and we get the answers. You can also ask the name of Calico Jack's ship. So I left that out purposely so you have something to work with. The city that she lived in Ireland. That's an easy one. That's a 1-syllable answer. So we've been getting that one more and more. And the color of her hair. I'm going to give you that one. It's red. So we do get red quite a bit here. The funny thing is they used to have a millimeter, or a REM pod that was attached to the millimeter that you are using. So basically, in a nutshell, it would sense motion. I was trying to teach the person using the spirit box at this point was still struggling. So I was like, what's a 1-syllable answer that I can help out with here? So I made her pull out her earbud, and I said, Anne, can you at least tell us the color of your hair? And we had a red come out of that. I was like, all right, maybe the motion just came from the space. We went to another part of it, and on command the whole night long. Like, we would wait a few minutes, and I go back to it. Anne, show us your hair color. Red. Like, it was like she was just following me around. It was craziness. So, around this space, the closer you get that way, you have 2 electrical poles in the corners, and you have parking meters on the other side. So usually it's the back half back here of if we get anything is where I get excited. That's why I was asking if you had helped listen with that specific device, because this, for you, is not going to be super exciting. It's definitely not the Pinky Mansion. So that way you 2 can actually work together. Anything coming up on your end?
Yeah, I had a whole bunch of stuff.
Give me the last 5.
Monitor, preference, skip, mile, popularity.
Yeah, a whole lot of nothing. I'm more excited about the things we got in the alley. Anything crazy on the Ouija?
Nah, no.
Okay. All
Jibber
right.
jabber.
Other tours like to come up here, so let's just stay away from them. They like to cut through here. Again, it's Sunday night. I'm not expecting anybody. Just be cognizant of them. The reason why I always bring us to the back, by the way, is because tours will go from St. Philip's, because they always tell a story over there, and then they go to the front of the Powder magazine, so that way we can work on 3/4 of the alley and not be of the lot, and then they can have the rest. There's only 1 vehicle in here tonight, so I think we're good to go. But yeah, let's spread out. Let's have some fun. This is not our last stop, just so you know. It used to be, but it's no longer. We've got 1 more to go.
Okay.
But yeah, I want to see how you do with that. I'm curious. I'm going to see your Ouija board for a second. Did you just reset it again? Yeah. Oh. I was going to take a look at it. In here, you do want it and ball.
Oh, okay.
I also have Mary Reed and Mark, but also I just want to take a look at it because I don't know if I'm having falling up in this place.
That was Roxanne again.
Okay.
Roxanne again.
Again?
Yeah.
secret. I'm making him listening on that with her, because at the next location, we're going to blindfold him and put noise-canceling headphones on him, and he's not going to know the history.
Oh, okay.
So that way, he's our guy that he loves the black and white type evidence, and that's fine. I love when I get books like this. But at the end of the night, he's still not going to know the history. He's going to have to wait for the recordings the next day to see if anything come up legit. But the rest of us are going to be able to tell him in real time when he comes out. Just don't say anything yet. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Our next location. You have a key up for that?
Yeah. Maybe that's where the where came up then.
Yeah.
Where, George, because that came up in the map.
Yes, I look at that
Is that an address?
I look at it as a date. August 7th of 1723. So just so you know how
Hi, hey.
What's that?
Hey, hold on.
yeah.
Maybe it was an inmate number. It's Dave. It's Dave.
It says what?
It would be an inmate.
Oh.
But how I look at that
Yeah.
is August 7th of 1723. I don't know what happened on that specific date.
Yeah,
which
but
better
you'll
well
check.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I got the
There were more numbers, but we couldn't hear it. It's like those were the clear ones, you know?
those are the ones that matter. But again, I do have the almanac for Charleston.
There you go.
That's what it's there for.
It's,
Print and digital.
There
Like
we
I
go.
can look for things quickly, or I can siphon through if I have to.
I find this is very disorienting. Like every time I hear something, I want to stop because I think it'll continue, but it never continues. It just keeps going. Yeah. It's hard to listen.
There's a reason why I'm having them go. It'll make more sense once we get to the next location.
It's pretty cool.
Have you heard anything out of there yet? Can you make
Yeah,
any?
the numbers.
Okay.
Nothing out of this, really.
Okay.
I want to know why I heard Roxanne three
Twice.
times. And then a third time, but it was the same, song, I think. It is weird. Yeah.
I will tell you, this is also kind of weird, and it might be a stretch, but on his one device he has the letters GWP, and then on the other device it says where. The next place we're going to is George Washington. Where? So we have the GWP and then where. It's a stretch because we have been getting a preamp of where we're going next. It's just weird because it is 2 blocks away. So again, it's a little bit of a hike for us to get there, but we have been getting things relative to that space. Here, almost like he knows we're coming. It's the new space for me.
Oh, yeah?
So
that
it's-
one's the hot space?
It's
Hard to tell.
It's an interesting space.
I don't have anything following me around, do I, Mom?
Well, I can't tell. When you were standing over there, you were standing right over in here, right next to this part of your shoulder. If you turn this way, right over here was just a red dot, just hanging in the air.
Really?
But that was the only time I saw that. So I'd like to kind of hang around you for a bit with your, because you
But how
never
can
know
you tell
what's
on
going to
that
happen
one
around
what's
you.
real and what's artifact? Because it comes out with like that thing that's saying all the words. Yeah. Like, how do you know?
And after an inmate came up, we had batteries pulled. and
Battery. We're on the battery.
Huh?
We're on the battery.
What do you mean on the battery? Oh, yeah, well, batteries.
You seeing anything there?
Does it say battery?
Batteries, pulled, experiment. Yeah,
So-
it's not experiment.
There was another gunpowder magazine on Powder Street, or on Battery Street. Is it Battery? No, I'm sorry, my mistake. It's Magazine Street. Damn close to the Battery.
Mm-hmm.
it's again too stretchy to me. Like I'm not fully convinced until I have something else.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I mean, obviously the way this building is constructed is very interesting too. I don't go into the architecture of it anymore because it just bores the shit out of people.
What, that little building? I think it's creepy. That building is.
It's a museum
creepy.
now. You can
Oh, it
go-
is?
Yeah, it actually served in 7
Who's
different wars.
Isabel?
Dave's girlfriend.
Dave's girlfriend,
Yeah.
Isabel. All right.
Poor Dave.
Well, poor, yeah,
Damn
kind of
Dave, I'm
loud.
telling you, he's pissing me off. It's every night. And again, it's different devices. That's how I know, like, something's going on. I can't find it. Yeah, watch the other tour coming by. Just keep that thing pointed at me. You're good.
Okay.
Again, they didn't pay to get filmed. You did. She's like,
That's
I
right.
didn't. I paid to be the videographer.
That's
What's
right.
in the fine print?
Yeah.
No, it was in the ticket price.
Oh, wow.
It's triple what they're paying.
Yeah. But worth it.
I appreciate
I
that.
wanted to have, facts.
Well, again, I had to raise the ticket prices to keep the hecklers out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get a lot of hecklers.
Mm.
Like, it was bad. Like, when my tickets, when I first started doing this, were like 20, 25 bucks.
Oh.
I would get the Ghostbuster guy, let's go kind of stuff, and it was like, come on, man. This is not what I signed up for.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I left 6 figures to come out and use my degrees and do
Yeah.
this.
It
And
ruins
then
your
I
night.
gotta hear from that guy. I'm like,
Yeah. That just spoils the night for everybody.
well, not to mention, it ruins the activity.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I mean,
Oh,
we get
right.
people that are non-believers, but if they come in with an open mind and have fun with it, like that's where things can continue to go. But if I get the heckler all night, like I used to give the camera to who I knew was the heckler and not tell them it was recording audio, and hear all the nasty stuff they would say about me along the
Wow.
tours.
Oh, that's terrible.
Wow.
Yeah, so you know what I do now? I put it on mute. That way I can focus on the visuals, and I don't have to get a complex that somebody had a bad time on the night prior.
Oh, that's mean.
It is, but I set them up for it.
Yeah.
But again, some people say some nasty stuff. They really do.
Wow.
This guy's full of it. There's no way that's true. You know, that kind of stuff. It's
Mhm.
like, I give you the links. Like, I'm not making this stuff up. It's not Wikipedia I'm giving you.
Mhm.
You know, it's Britannica. It's
Mhm.
you know, Encyclopedia. It's Charleston.org. You know, it's all of the things. So, anything else crazy going on with you? I'm talking to you guys while you guys should be working.
Oh, another one bites the dust by Queen.
After
I like that one.
after Isabel, air purchase rough.
You heard that, right?
Matter now just came up.
You know, what's
Air
funny
matter?
is in this location, what
Rough
we commonly
matter?
hear, girls just want to have fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we get that one a lot.
The girls with the big butts?
Yeah, right.
Carson.
I think that was the other part of the name that showed up with David the other day.
Or Isabel Carson. Or Mary. Mary Carson. That Mary just came up after I asked that.
That's Mary as in get married.
Oh, well, shit. Yeah. Well,
But we did talk about Mary Reed, and it
Did
is
you
the same
just hear,
phonetic
"Can you
sounds, and
hear
let's
me?"
face it, most pirates couldn't spell.
Voice, yeah. A woman's voice just said, "Can you hear me?" Now, who knows what,
Pretty vague.
well,
But
maybe it's Mary.
Is that 94?
she died in 84. No, 82. She was
Oh.
84 when she died. She was born in 69. So I don't tell you guys all the shit. When you guys, when you come up with stuff, I have to stop and think, like, who's that
Yeah.
related to?
That's this Mary. Completely. So that's what's been.
It's vague.
Mhm.
How many terms does that say at the bottom? What's the number?
68.
Average is about 75, just so
Okay.
you know, for a time frame with me. I have seen it go up to like 120, 130.
Mm-hmm.
Just depends on the night. Alright, we're gonna wait for one more turn out of you guys, and then we'll call it on this one. The only thing I'm close to so far, I think the Mary is probably the closest thing that we actually have. And no numbers coming out of you at
Nothing.
all? Nothing. Definitely not the Pinckney Mansion. Alright, let's head over to the wall. You two keep listening. We're gonna head over. Shirt on, by the way.
probably love her.
The reason for that is because she used to bare her breast to show men that they were just killed by a woman.
Yes.
You can stop your video and give your hands a break. But again, I get a lot of teenage boys on this tour. I don't need angry moms. So I went, hot damn, there's my ghost. I knew I'd heard this story before on another tour, because I do take other tours to see what they're up to and what history they're piecing and together and whatnot. But I'd never heard the story here, so I was quite surprised. Here's how it goes. It's very short, very brief. The guy was a writer. Born in 1828, he was also sick through most of his life. So basically what happened was he was old enough to go fight in the Civil War. He goes to fight at the battlefield. His comrades realize he's too sick to fight. So they sent him home, knowing he was a writer, and said, go be the voice of the war. They knew he was a writer, so he came home and started writing poetry about what was going on the battlefield. He became known as the laureate of the Confederacy. Sorry, she's loud and distracting. That's why I'm like, what's the next part? So the laureate of the Confederacy, like laureate is a very prestigious title for writers, if you're unfamiliar. Like it's high class. So a few years go by, he has a son. You're gonna know about the son. He was not, because we're gonna be poking the bear about the son. The son was born on Christmas Eve. His name was Willie, and he died 9 months later on October 23rd. So obviously very tragic death. I don't know the actual cause of it, just so you guys know. But a few more years go by, and he's not writing as much as he's supposed to. His college friend realizes this because he's been following up with all of his publications. He says, why don't you come out to my cottage out in the middle of Columbia, which is in the middle of the state. He goes out there and he writes his last words. Oh, by the way, he said, leave your wife Katie behind to mourn with her parents, because her parents were here with her. So he goes out there, and that's where he wrote his last words. His last words were, beholder of brief mortality, which translates to, in today's world, holder of short life. So again, then he coughs, and it lands on the page in a blood stain. He had tuberculosis. Yeah, so that blood stain actually looks like a man writing at his death. So they show this book one day a year at the Charleston Library Society, but you got to be a member to go see it. However, the internet is beautiful. I'm going to show you what the page looks like, and then we're going to go talk to Hugh a little bit and see what we can get out of him. So let me show you this page, and then we're going to not leave him by himself for too much longer. Again, it gets a little weird in here.
He looks like a freak.
Yeah. Well, normally, when with my larger groups, I put 2 people under in a larger group.
Yeah.
But I always try to give it to the people that are have been with the spirit box all night long, because they've been used to it for the past, I don't know how much, in a few hours. But again, with the smaller groups, and I only use one of them, only one person goes under. This is what we call the blood book. So you can see where the blood stain looks like. But this tells his whole story. Beholder of brief mortality, person of short life. He coughs, lands on the page, and dies on the page. So again, you can kind of see where this is a big deal here. So let's go see if we can talk to Henry Tim now. Let's see what we can get out of this guy. So a couple of things for you guys. We're going to stay really close to him, just so you know. It does look very odd when I'm blindfolding my guests in the middle of a dark park in the middle of the night. I don't need other tours walking around going, what the hell is Nick up to now? I already don't have enough friends in this industry. I'm sure you can imagine why. So we're going to stay pretty close to him, and we're going to keep that camera on him the entire time. I want to see if there's anything going on around him, if anything changes. So try to be as steady as possible, and we will be much closer than this, just so you know. Now, a couple of things for you. I'm going to be keeping an eye on your breathing. Part of the reason why I chose you to do this and had you kind of get started back there, Katie was already getting disoriented. Being under like this, as much senses as I can take away, can be very disorienting. So when we're done, she's going to tap you on the leg, so just be mindful of that. Okay. Don't get up right away, just so you know. All right. This is also a place where it's okay to answer yes/no answers, because you don't know what questions I'm going to be asking. I don't even know yet. Sometimes things come up in real time based on whatever you're saying. So kind of keep that in mind. I want you to tell us everything you're hearing in real time. Also keep in mind, you don't need to shout. We can hear you. Okay. If anything, put it to a whisper. Okay. Most people, we've had that before. That's why I make sure I point that out. I'm only going to keep you under for 10 minutes. That's it.
a long time,
10 minutes under. It's any more than that, it's going to be very disorienting. You're actually going to control the volume of his device. So he's going to give you the thumbs up and then an OK to hold. So turn it all the way down, since she already knows how to operate that thing, and then she's going to set it next to you, so that way we know you're not cheating. and playing with the volume and hearing what we're actually asking. We've seen it in the past where teenagers will try to do that, so I make sure like there's a family member controlling the volume and they're in control of the entire device. So it'll be blindfold first, then earbuds, and then I will hand you these. Well, you can probably feel where they're at, so you probably got a good gist of that. All right, so let's huddle in closer. You're going to have to control his volume. So Katie, you might have to come over here and grab the spirit box.
We turned it all the way down, Kate.
Okay.
And again, repeat everything that you're hearing, no matter how silly you think it might be. This is the only part of our night, by the way, that I actually time. Everything else just kind of, we're going to go until it stops.
Don't fall asleep. We'll know if
He
you
won't.
start snoring.
He won't. Trust me, he's going to be working. Earbuds. Okay.
Start turning it up.
Okay. He can't hear you.
Up more,
We're good.
and then just put
Just
it
set it
down.
down. So I usually give them about 15 to 30 seconds to get acclimated. It is 11:01. I don't write anything down during this either. I want to make sure I focus on the questions, just so you guys know. Okay, we are looking for Henry Timrod. Ryan, yeah, circle in a little bit closer. I want to make sure we're staying pretty tight with him. Katie, you as well. Henry Timrod, if you're here, I want you to tell me what your occupation was. We're going to start things off nice and easy. What was your occupation? Yeah, definitely keep an eye on that thing. Sometimes we get answers on yours.
Cosgrove.
I don't know what that means. So Henry, I'm going to ask again. Please tell us what your occupation was. We're all
Fire.
We're the only ones here with you. All the other groups left. Would you like me to just go straight into your family? Henry, give us some kind of clue that you're actually here. This is Hugh. He can hear you. You know how this works. Talk through the box
Oil.
with the red light. What about oil? That doesn't make sense. Let's keep it simple again.
38.
He died at the age of 38. Okay, that makes me excited. Thank you for that, Henry. Can you tell us your wife's name, please?
President.
Okay. We're in a park named after a very famous president that you should know. What was his name? Regardless of who's here. Look for that GW again. Can you tell us the president's name? That's the namesake of this park.
Bill.
No.
50th anniversary.
20.
Let's go back to your
Champions.
age at death. Can you tell us what you died from?
50 years old.
You weren't 50. You were 38.
Destroyed.
He's doing really well now. 4 minutes have passed, just so you guys know. Henry, what did you die from?
Money.
Nah, you were poor. I knew that.
20.
What did you die from? Henry, you're going to have to come through a lot stronger. You know we don't do this for very long.
Rotary Club.
Rotary Club. Can you tell us what year you died?
Seizures.
You didn't die of seizures. Can you tell us what you're famous for? What do we talk about with your writing here in Charleston? This is your hometown. We all talk about you. What do we go visit?
McCutcheon.
I don't know what that means at all. Henry, we've asked a lot of questions. Feel free to answer any one of them, please. Your wife's name, your death, your famous writing that's here. I'm very glad that you gave us your age. That's a very specific number. But I want to know what you died from. I want you to try really hard, Henry. That message is in that box. Make sure Hugh can hear it so he can tell us.
Ladies.
Notice how he didn't start talking again until I stopped. There are a lot of ladies here.
Isaiah.
This is a stretch, Henry, but you mentioned the word president and the number 20 earlier, and there's a memorial to a president's family member. Can you tell me which family member?
Headphones.
Which family member has a memorial to one of the presidents here? It's after his time.
Trial.
Henry, we are really running out of time here. You gotta try really hard for us. Which family member?
30,000.
Andrew Jackson's mother has a memorial just across the way. I'm waiting for him to say mother or something relative to mother. Her name was Elizabeth.
I just got an E come across on here.
It's a stretch.
3.5 years.
3.5 years. Let's go back to your wife's name. Can you tell us what your wife's name was? How about the question that we always get the answer to? What do we normally hear out of the church? What sound do we hear? What sound do we hear out of the church, Mr. Timrod?
Whistle.
I'll explain that one, but that's not the right sound.
We're talking about the roof.
That house where Dr. Ladd lived, 0.3 miles.
History.
Mystery. I want to know the sound that comes out of the church. What sound do we get there? It's not a whistle. It's a... Come on, Henry. You normally give us this answer. What sound do we get out of the church? And it's come out of your Ouija board before, too. Like, it has spelled out the word bells.
Mm-hmm.
Able to find certain.
Certain what? What sound do we hear? What's that sound? Come on, Henry. We are running out of time, buddy. You got about 30 seconds. Henry, one last chance. What's the sound we get out of the church?
Church.
What is the sound?
Virginia.
What's the sound?
Out of state.
He's getting uncomfortable. What's the sound we get, Henry? Henry? Henry Timrod, what is the sound we get out of the church?
Beat it.
Do you want us to stop?
Daughter.
No, you didn't have a daughter. You had a son. All right, Henry. I'm going to call it, buddy. All right, go ahead and tap his leg.
Golden.
That golden piece is still part of the house. I'll explain. Let's see how he's feeling
The
first.
church was crazy.
Well, the number 38 is more crazy to me.
Yeah.
Okay, first and foremost, how do you feel?
Good.
Okay.
Good.
You got a little, like, almost uncomfortable. Like you were shuffling your arms and...
I did?
Yeah. And I was really pressing to try to get answers. So it wasn't surprising that you started to feel a little agitated.
Oh,
So-
I don't even remember doing that.
Welcome
Did it
to
seem like you were under a long time?
He says later.
How long do you think you were under?
2 minutes?
Most people will say 2 to 3 minutes.
Oh, really?
Most people do.
Yeah.
I was
thinking
That was
that
We,
was
it was almost
very
11, to be honest with you.
uncomfortable, yeah.
Yeah, you can just set everything down. I want you to get your... I know you said you feel fine, but I
Yeah,
still don't want
yeah.
you to get up yet. A couple of things that did come up. I'm going to call this slightly successful. I kind of have a little rating scale based on the amount of questions and a certain amount of time that we ask. You can go ahead and stop your video.